Wild Dogs, Max's Adventure, Chapter 1. He crept up on the deer in the grassy field, then he leapt. Clinging onto the deer's back, he bit down hard. In one swift buck, the young deer sent Max flying off. Max hit the ground so hard it knocked the air out of him. Still dazed, Max sat up and looked around. The deer was gone and out of sight, so he trotted off, looking for some prey. Then he spotted a rabbit, so he got down into a crouch to hunt the small creature. Then suddenly he heard rattling. He looked around, wondering where the rattling was coming from. Then he opened his eyes to see Sam, his human, putting food in his bowl. It was all a dream. Max lay there so he could relive the dream, but he couldn't. So he sat up on his bed and then walked over to his bowl. He looked at the dry pellets. He was too hungry to complain. He ate his food, then went out of the kitchen into the glass door and pawed at it. So Sam came out of the lad room where he sat watching the bright box to let him out. Max wandered the yard, then stopped and lit in a nice warm patch of sun, but he heard something moving in the woods. So he looked up at the fence. The bright sun shone in his eyes, but he didn't care. In one leap he was in the woods. He saw movement. It was coming from a bush. He looked at the bush. There was a slight movement coming from it. And then all of a sudden, a silverish gray she-pup lunged at him. He dodged the pup and ran for home, but there was something stopping him. He had a feeling that he had to fight, so Max spun around facing the pup. He lunged at it. It was a pup-to-pup fight. They rolled, growling and biting. Then, in the midst of the battle, the silver pup sat down. Max was confused. Why did the pup sit down? They're probably trying to trick me, Max thought. You put up quite a fight for a dog, said the silver pup. Max calmed down a bit, seeing how calm the pup was. Max sat down and then wondered, why was the pup out here? Who knows why it's out here? Max's thoughts were interrupted by a large white wolf. Good job, Silverpaw, said the white wolf. Thank you, Whiteheart, said Silverpaw. Who is this? Just some dog, but they put up a good fight, though. Just some dog, Max thought. Whiteheart had seen the fight and a bit of the anger in Max's eyes. Do you want to join the pack? Fight well, and we need more cougars, said Whiteheart. Max was shocked. I would love to. All right then, meet me here tomorrow. Tomorrow at Moon High. Then Whiteheart and Silverpaw went off into the woods. The next day, Max was on his bed. He got up and went to the lad room. He hopped up on the big nest. Sam welcomed him. Can I really leave Sam, the one I promised to protect ever since I was a pup? Max hung out with Sam all day. When it was getting dark, he went right over to the door and Sam let him out. He went out into the woods and he looked at the dense forest and sat down, waiting for them to come. Then 2 wolves stepped out of the bushes. Max was a bit scared. He didn't know these 2 wolves, but They greeted, but they greeted Max. Then the three wolves ran through the woods, jumping over lo- logs and dodging trees. It wasn't hard to keep up until they came to a stream. Max had never swam before, though he didn't want to show he couldn't keep up, so he got in the water anyways. He was slow, but he swam across. He got out of the water soaked, but he didn't stop to shake because he needed to catch up, so he ran to keep up. They ran on and on until they finally came to the camp. It was covered with bushes and leaves from old trees. They went down a small tunnel into a big clearing. Then they all sat down. The two wolves finally introduced themselves. "I'm Fox," said the white and orangish brown one. "And I'm Dust," said the light brown one. Then Whiteheart walked up to Max and yelled, "This is the newest trainee, and until he gets his cougar name, he will be known as—" Whiteheart was stopped as he was about to finish. "We can't have a dog join," yelled a dark brown male wolf. "He's too weak. He'll only be another mouth to feed." Wolves howled in agreement. "I'm not weak," yelled Max. "You're gonna need to do more than that to convince Branch Halfhot. He's the better," said Dust. Max nodded at Dust, and he lunged at Branch Halfheart. He wasn't expecting it and came to the ground with a thud, but Branch wasn't giving up that easily. He flung Max off him. Max quickly rose to his paws and snarled at Branch. Then Branch ran at him, but Max was prepared and jumped up as Branch came to tackle him. Max landed on Branch's back. Branch slung his head around and grabbed Max's collar. He couldn't breathe. Max struggled to get free, but he couldn't. He near passes out. A white and gray dappled she-wolf even yelled, "Let him go before he passes out." Then he got an idea. It might not work, but I gotta try. He bit down hard on his collar. It broke. Max was free from Branch's grasp. He lay there trying to catch his breath. "Skypack has spoken. He's lost his hunter mark. He can join the pack as a trainee." Max got to his paws, muddy and wet though he stood tall. His fur was wet, and mud clung to it, and it shone a pale brown in the moonlit sky. "Until he gets his cougar name, he will be known as Muddy Paw," yelled Whiteheart, loud enough for the whole pack to hear. At the end, well, that's not the end. That's the end of chapter 1. See you on chapter 2.